Hello, everybody. Greetings, greetings. Hello. To nobody. In all seriousness, welcome back to the Stanley Parable, Part 2. I am going to be relaunching the game for the first time. And finally meeting back up with the timekeeper, or whoever title screen man is. Just gotta let it load. Oh, cool, my microphone was running something else. Yes. Right, my mic wasn't working correctly at the end of stream last night. Or the other night. My screen cap should just... the active screen, it should be... There we go. The current time. Yeah. 'Tis 3:32. Hang on. Before we get started, can I just say something? Thank you for actually setting the clock both times you booted up the game. Just leave it at 12. Take the time to set the clock. I am paying attention. I don't even have any way of knowing if the times you're setting are correct. Tell you what, I'll make you a deal. Since I've been so cooperative, next time I boot up the game and see the screen, just set the Just set the clock to my favorite time. Sounds good? In that case, I should just restart it now and set it to 4:20. Matter of fact. Oh, right, the new intro. It's still here. Yeah, we're setting it to 4:20 p.m. One moment, actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and... Hold on. Yeah, that'll do. Alright, one moment, chat. Alright, I'm back. Oh, my webcam... Oh, you know what? I could probably fix this by adding deactivate when not showing. So that way, when it does freeze, when I have to change it to this, it'll unload and reload anyway. And it doesn't matter. Alright, we're just gonna... There we go. Good enough. Alright. Well, we're doing exactly as instructed. And cheers, chat. Ah, 4:20 p.m. My favorite time of day. Or could you simply not resist giving me the correct time again? I know how much you enjoy setting the time correctly. Now I'm curious. Let's use another slider to... it is very inaccurate. That is not the correct time. Having a great time adjusting these settings. Okay, good to collect data. Wish we had more sliders. Alright, I feel like dropping my audio down so that when I cough, it's not as ear piercing. That'll have to do. Perhaps I can invent some new sliders or gather data on you. Okay. Have fun with that. We still have a lot of new content to go through, apparently. That is so, like, wacky. Yeah, that's trippy as heck. And kind of, like, creepy in a way. But here we are in the sequel. This is indeed. Oh, welcome back. Thanks, game.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Do we have the dude who walks by 425? No. Apparently he's one of, like, the rarest things in the game. And I just, like, got him at, like, the beginning of both of them when I streamed the other day. I believe I did all of the main things. I need to do more of the bucket stuff.
Just Stanley and the bucket, off on another thrilling adventure together. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy, it's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you,
Yeah,
Stanley.
is it?
Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons. But even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your
What
relationship is purely
blasphemy?
superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments.
There we go.
Expand on the wide variety of
Now the camera
experiences
can really
you
see
and
it.
the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point
I don't
by
need it to be
point.
super duper
Share
bright
your
anyway.
journal entries detailing the rich emotional
Alexa, set the light
landscape
to
of your feelings for the
5%,
bucket, as they have changed and evolved over the years.
and that lets the
Really
glare
like it.
not be so present for me. Awesome.
Okay, I got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go.
Oh yeah.
There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things. All
I'd
right,
also
I've
like
got
the
a
bucket
second sticker
sticker.
back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see?
Awesome.
I feel
How did he get
it
it under the
works
first sticker,
because the
though?
sticker is also a
That's
bucket.
kind of impressive.
That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
Right. Let's at least wait for him to tell me that he's out of stickers.
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the... But now, the broom closet is just giving us a silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Oh. I got up onto the... I messed around so much I found out, chat. Alright.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
We've already seen all of them. You know what?
Stepping...
We gonna go down this way. This seems appropriate. This game certainly is a trip, though. We taking the bucket into this ending this time. I am now leaving. Also, somewhere in there, there's a texture. Hold on, I kind of need my brightness back up a little bit. I really can't see nothing in here. Somewhere in here, there's like a dirty texture for something, and it says something about do not proceed without the narrator. And he's nowhere to be seen, and we just ignore that warning. Mostly because it's like not visible. Really? Oh wait. No, it's right here. Warning, entering the escape pod will initiate the relay. Once triggered, cannot be disabled or paused. Both the narrator and the player must be present in order to... Oh, in order for the escape pod to operate or something like that. Alright. Now we shipped away the bucket.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
You can't see what that is. Yeah, the bucket's gone. Got nothing to say about that narrator? Hey, be my Valentine. I gotta get one of those mugs for someone real soon.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either.
Let's just
Feeling
try...
a wave of disbelief, Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Let's try just beating the game normally.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to
Again.
his boss's office.
See if I can trigger us to go back to the memory zone. What does that say? Business strategy. I'm sure it is. Oh.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk.
Listen,
That
Kevin,
kind of
okay?
anxiety isn't healthy,
Listen.
so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
Maybe I shouldn't be able to get the whole 8 achievement before you get to 2845.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
There are so many questions I still have about this game.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Oh. Wait. Alright, I gotta be real careful here. I don't want to wind up at the bottom of the mind control facility. Can I even... The gate's closed on the other side. It doesn't even matter if I do. Man.
This mind control facility, it was
Well,
too
let me go
horrible
all the
to
way
believe
back
it
at the
couldn't be
end if
true.
I go here.
Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Really? Well, I want to go back and press the button again. Yeah, whatever.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy.
Let's
or
get
sad,
on with it.
Or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its
Y'all notice the game is skipping less too?
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
As soon as it opens enough. There we
Stanley
go.
felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility
Just let
of
it
a new
actually
path
process
before
that it's
him.
ended.
This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Alright.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Perhaps. Come on, man. Oh, hey. I got a bucket.
And try not to lose this one too, you dolt.
What if I bring it back to the same ending? What if I just send a whole bunch of them?
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
You know what?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought
You know
to
what?
himself. Yes, perhaps
Yeah.
it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right, then walking to the lounge, then arriving at the lounge. What a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired.
Oh, I can get on the coffee table.
Perhaps this was where the bucket felt most truly at home. Here in the employee lounge. Perhaps it's the only place a bucket can even feel at home.
Can I get stuck here? Probably.
Stanley decided to just give the bucket absolutely as much time as it needed to be in the lounge. Clearly,
Yep.
the bucket and the employee lounge shared a special connection.
How long does it take for him to get sick of this? Oh, interesting. He thought about us trying to get stuck. Makes me wonder, can I just... Not every object, but some. Some you can kind of like horizontally glitch up if you can manage it on the corner. Interesting.
But finally, the bucket was done being in the lounge, and they took the first open door on their left to get, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Let's get even more lost with the bucket.
Oh, good Stanley, I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
Ah, I forgot about this.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes. That's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Still no inputs on my computer. It looks like the one I'm playing on.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh,
Although it's not running on this box. Full disclaimer. I'm not gonna pretend it is. Wait. Nothing can be gone. Oh. Wait, that's like some type of comic. That's cool. Ever dream this man?
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But
Hell
if
yeah,
we want
do
to
it for the
that,
vine.
you're going to have to give something up.
What am I looking at? Can I show that on stream? I don't... Some of this stuff is like mildly disturbing. Da 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 da. Absolutely love the Adventure Line music. What happens if I turn around and go back the way I came? How far can I go back? Like, just randomly. Any secret doors open up? He's got nothing for me. Yeah, didn't think so. Can I, like, glitch my way up? If I can manage to accidentally get out of bounds somewhere I'm not intended to be, I'll call that some type of extra win for the stream, not gonna lie. Like if I manage to fall off this catwalk somehow. Well, this is getting creepy, huh? Oh. We're past the point of no return now. Oh, right, the bucket destroy.
Don't you get it, Stanley?
Wait,
We need
you
to
just...
get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce
You just
a
gave
brand
it to
new
me!
inventor. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll
Oh.
make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait.
Right, the game just
Sure, I
doesn't
can hear
let
you
you
say,
give
how
it the
does a
bucket.
character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance.
Yeah, I
that it's
actually
really
can't
like
give it the
10
bucket, chat.
personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and fix. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and... Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Well, it destroyed me and the bucket, so does that count?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
No,
Perhaps he
the
had simply
bucket's
missed a memo.
still here. Let me just go make sure that it wasn't on one of these PCs.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his
Quit
co-worker.
making my computer lag, narrator.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
So does Garfield, Mr. Muggs. So does Garfield.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together, Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
You know what? I got the bucket now. Real quick, I want to show you guys something. Let's go beat the game as intended both ways
Still no one was here.
with the bucket.
Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
Is that a sign that if I spend hours in the broom
Coming
closet,
to a
that I
staircase, Stanley
may
and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
be blessed? I'm curious. Right, I forgot to enable server, or enable the console. Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes. If the boss has suffered losses, that's what the boss shows. Cheers to that. Is the elevator music changed at all with the bucket? I expected him to say with the bucket on the next verse or something different, but he doesn't. That would be perfect, though.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket.
Oh,
Now,
thank you, bucket.
In his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always. The bucket would, and he knew it. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Alright, so right here, chat, when you have the bucket, pay close attention.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be
Oh, is
right.
it not here?
The bucket
Or did
is
I
here
miss
for you,
it?
Stanley.
I might have missed it.
Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
hump in the middle. I just soft locked myself though. Cool. Huh. Oh, I see. You gotta like ride like the other edge.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his
Yeah,
shoulder
you're
now,
funny.
he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
Oh, it received the input. Okay.
A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction.
Oh, the phone's right here. Can you like not? There we go. Oh yeah.
Yes, whispered the bucket into Stanley's ear. We've done it. We've escaped from that dull office and that pesky narrate. At last,
Maybe
out
that
here
only
in the
works
white
on the
void,
real
we are
one.
alone. Now, and for the first time, I can reveal to you my true self. The bucket began to tell Stanley of its life and its history, of the countless wars it witnessed, desecrating the land and lives of untold numbers of innocent humans, and the bucket's own complicity therein, of sadness and regret, and the many years it spent dwelling on the actions it might have taken to curb the madness and the decay, if only it had been stronger. Of hope
If
and
only.
redemption, and its crusade to uplift the stock of life for the common man, to manifest justice where none existed, and the bittersweet reality of time, to see one's dreams and wishes met halfway, meted out in parcels like charity, and abandoned as soon as the warm glow of inspiration begins to dim. The opportunities to do so much more. There was so much it could have done, perhaps, the bucket wondered to itself. Perhaps if it had seen its own darkness with a clearer perception. This was way too much for Stanley.
What are you talking about?
He screamed.
You're a bucket!
To this, the bucket furrowed its brow.
No,
Said the bucket.
not since the evil wizard Gambhorata first ensnared me in his machinations as payback for the sacred amulet I stole from his treasured vaults. I was young back then and could not conceive the ramifications of... No!
Stanley screamed even louder this time.
This is stupid! You are a bucket! This is so stupid!
You are a toy.
Stanley screamed and screamed and screamed. The bucket revealed its true form, transforming into a mighty beast of untold power, its fangs glistening like...
Bucket.
My God, Stanley, you did it. You saved us from the bucket. Thank God you already had all 12 emblems of sages and knew the incantations to summon their true power. Otherwise, we would have easily been overwhelmed by the bucket's power. I'm speechless. You've demonstrated such bravery here today. Come, let's restart the game, and we'll agree to never again go trifling with this bucket, nor the dark magic cast away inside of it.
You gonna give me more new content then? I need something to replace it. Can it be an ocarina this time?
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never
Yes.
stopped. Surely
Yes.
I was
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
the
Yes.
embrace
It's
of
gonna
my
let me.
friend.
Let
Whether
me
it
go
be
there.
that stands the
Let
test
me
of
go
time.
there.
No, the orders were still missing.
Please let me take the bucket. Let me tell what happens if I go with the bucket. Whoa. Thank you, game. It's bucket heaven, chat. Well, I found bucket heaven, chat. That that is just legendary. I feel accomplished to have been able to do that.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on. The bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of those things. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps, Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet.
Alright, he keeps saying that, which tells me that maybe there's something there if I wait. But I don't think I have that much time today. It might literally take hours. Indoors monthly. Graphs.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire.
What is that noise?
Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so
actually
absorbed
like
in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
What is that
Stanley
noise,
guessed the correct
though?
code by sheer luck. Was it the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
I don't think I'm gonna find out. Certainly peculiar, that's for sure.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read,
And the
Mind
bucket.
Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen
Shit.
anything like this, and it very... But just as Stanley was about to proceed further into the mind control facility, he tripped and fell over the railing and into the dark void below. Thankfully, he fell directly onto the bucket, which safely cushioned his fall. Now, what to do next, Stanley wondered.
Oh, I just
Stanley
land on the bucket.
could find no way out of this enormous pit, and so eventually they decided that the best thing to do would be to simply get comfortable down here.
Interesting.
So they set up a little couch and relaxed. It really wasn't so bad down here,
Oh.
a bit cold perhaps. After some time had gone by, they installed a few shelves as well, and a sort of kitchenette.
Yes, I made it onto the couch.
For when the bucket
Let's
was craving
go.
convenience. But it wasn't until the rugs and the standing lamps came in that it really started to feel like a home. In fact, after some time, Stanley realized that it had been ages since he had even thought of the mind control facility at all. He'd never gotten to fully explore what was up there, never been able to unearth the many mysteries of the mind control facility. This lack of closure began to eat at him. Soon he was dwelling on his regrets, and the state of their home slowly decayed as Stanley became withdrawn and neglected the cleaning.
New.
It unsettled the bucket deeply. Stanley wasn't usually like this. The bucket tried to reach out to him again and again, but to no avail. All Stanley could think about, all he could talk about, was going back, doing it over again, staying on the path. It was a mistake to leave the
Staying
path.
on the
It was
path.
a mistake. It was a mistake. I need to do what the narrator says. I need to see the true ending. This made no sense at all to the bucket, which was simply trying to live its life down here as comfortably as possible. Yet Stanley was unconsolable. This isn't an ending. This is just a hole in the ground. The bucket sighed. True, it wasn't an ending. But it's where we happen to be. And maybe, possibly, if we accept the reality of things, maybe this will become an ending eventually. It's what the bucket was counting on. The two of them waited for a very long time.
And eventually Stanley died, right? I can go back to Button Heaven.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Yes! We got him again, chat. He's super duper duper rare. Oh, that's awesome. At least allegedly. Oh, but he was headed that way. If he goes this way, there's a chance that you might see him again down here, maybe.
When Stanley came
I'd like
to
to
a set of
explore
two open
that.
doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and
I
Stanley
didn't
knew
grab
it
the
perfectly
bucket.
well.
Oops.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Real quick.
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path. You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
Whatever, man. Okay, okay. Just make sure that he ain't walking by.
Not everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but Stanley is a
Another
very
thing I
lucky
want to
fellow.
do
Very lucky
is...
indeed. As soon as Stanley noticed that the door to his office was still open, he rushed in with his bucket and shut the door. The pressure of going out and finding another bucket variant on one of the Stanley Parable's classic endings was simply too much for him. It's nothing but swapped-out dialogue describing a bucket, he screamed to himself. It's not nearly different enough to be considered a true sequel. No, he would stay right here in his office where things were safe, familiar. If others were happy with the bucket endings, well, good for them. But Stanley knew that one day, somehow, a true sequel would emerge with actual new content. If only he had waited long enough. Just a little longer, Stanley. Keep waiting. You'll get it one day, surely. Eventually. Just
Wait,
keep
is that
waiting.
the phone?
Just a little longer now.
Bro, now I want to go in. It don't always ring. It wasn't ringing until I got in the room, though. Like, I've never seen it just randomly ring while delayed like that.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself. That's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. It takes a lot of humility to carry a bucket so magnificent. Stanley checked his ego and then proceeded onward. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd coming to a staircase. Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once
Really?
again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire,
Hurry up.
but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Alright, one moment, chat. I need to use the restroom. Just watch the game, make sure nothing bad happens. Alright, I'm
and the
back.
bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
It's probably the escape that leads to it.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped,
Alright.
monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it.
We don't have quick saves in this one.
That everything would be fine.
I'm after that secret. Problem is that I can't see. Hold up. Wow, I literally just... Alright. It's not possible. I'm glad I turned that up so that I could actually see. It's just... There's gotta be another way.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley cradled the bucket in a gentle embrace, protective. Stanley pressed the bucket upon every little thing in the office. Nothing responded to the bucket's touch, but it did little to discourage Stanley's belief in the magic of the bucket.
You know what? Let's keep dog mode on for this video.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Enough messing around, let's actually get these endings.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was coming to a staircase. Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Really struggled with that time. Whoa! The echo.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Who's leaving they cigarettes in the corner?
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Who can blame him?
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terror.
Alright, let's turn it off first, and then we'll turn it on. Find out what happens.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over?
Yep.
Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil
Also,
mind control
chat,
machine. Freedom was now
Coca-Cola
mere
and
moments
cherry
away.
7-Up taste like
Excitedly, the two of them
Samurai
began to discuss
Cola
the
if you
kind of
want to
life
try
they
it.
wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin
Admirable.
watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and What? Wait.
Open up.
What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty. Until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley
Dang, man.
realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley's bucket. The only co-worker he would ever truly...
Wait, we don't keep the Bark Bjork until the
Stanley
next?
touched the bucket
That's
tightly to his
disappointing.
chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Let's go.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly... All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps is Stanley, without the bucket, really Stanley at all? No, surely not. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where, coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. Monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
It would help if I re-enabled my
Was the bucket under the mind control
mic.
facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place?
That's a good
These
question.
questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machine... But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
He.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Birds chat.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. As Stanley lifted his bucket, he felt a connection to all buckets everywhere. This adventure, he decided, was for all of them. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket...
Maybe it's the elevator ending right here.
This is certainly the most logical explanation.
Let's do that one and then the escape.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
The bucket said nothing. Can't say I blame it. Guess it'll be a light up in here.
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket. Wow, he said. The number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly.
Hey, narrator, you're supposed to let the whole thing play out.
No, 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 said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing.
And the bucket said nothing, he says.
Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears, and the whole time he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The
That
bucket
8 is
conveyed
so loud.
absolutely nothing at all. Only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator.
Uh-huh.
Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be?
Surely. Surely. Oh.
Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what
Oh,
the number 3
there he
meant
is.
and why he felt so alive when pressing it. Then
There
the
was a
bucket would
person
be
there.
able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's. And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work. For months, he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life.
An evening with world peace, baby. Oh, hey, you can actually physically see. Can I, like, zoom in with my field of view? A little bit. Look, chat. There's a little low poly rat sitting on that couch over there. To stage 3.
This was it. One last chance to win the bucket over. One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one.
Congratulations, Stanley. Remember where you came from. Your coworkers. I wish you were here. Aloha from the Freedom ending. Narrator Airlines. Mind Control Facility. I played the demo. 427. Adventure awaits. 8. I love that I played the demo sticker. That's great. Ooh, the Lord. Doing great. Guy who... Oh, here's a better look at that. What does that say? A conversation with Alexander the Great. The Lord meet and greet. Featured keynote speaker. I want to see that one. That'd be dope.
There was no one here. Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak, to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure. And in that moment, Stanley knew the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant. They spoke less and less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit, only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
Damn, man. What kind of ending was that? I don't feel good about anything that just happened.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrible. What new mysteries lay in store for our bucket-loving heroes today? Let's find out. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his
Alright, let's
office,
try
Stanley was
the
once again
escape
stunned
ending.
to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Way to go,
The bucket
Stanley.
knew all along. Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind
Escape.
Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
A violent death.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
For each of them. Farewell, Stanley.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed
It'd be
to
nice
death?
if you could jump.
This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death.
Not the bucket.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold. Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Bucket? Look at the antelope having fun with the bucket. While we know that buckets predate the existence of mankind, we do not know by how long. This cave drawing depicts early man's discovery of the practical uses of the bucket, by which time the bucket was had already likely been around for several millennia. Okay. What's this way, though? The stress bucket. Presented without commentary. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, kind of speaks volumes on its own.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly
Where
not
did
a
the
bucket
bucket
as
go,
dazzling
anyway?
to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
I didn't notice exactly when it disappeared. The hanging bucket. The necessary relationship between bucket and humanity. This distance inevitably is for our own good.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket
But wait, this isn't the original bucket. It got out on an escape pod. It's inconsequential if this one gets crushed. I gotta find my way back to the memory zone.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh.
Now this, Stanley thought to himself, this is a bucket. And indeed it was. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was coming to a staircase. Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fined for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All
Good
because
question.
he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. Now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
The
Could it truly
bucket.
be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
What a
He had to
nightmare.
find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Huh.
This is the
Bucket
story
in the gut
of a
chat.
woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide
Indeed.
absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself. My life
Absolute
kicks
guidance
ass.
and
And she backflipped all the way to work.
Backflipped? Chat, would y'all backflip to work? Be honest. My mic on? Yeah, good.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Finally, yes, the bucket. Yes, yes, yes. I love that bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked. No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, "No buckets past this point." Stanley, how could you...
Let
think
me
it was
into the
possible?
video game endings with the bucket.
What if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment. Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket? Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this a bucket? Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
You say, but I've gotten all of them right so far.
Is this a bucket?
Indeed.
Correct. This is a bucket. Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Yep.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. Should be around here somewhere. Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well nothing isn't a bucket. Wait,
When I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true, unless... Is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago, I could answer
You
these
were
questions
not
with
just there,
confidence.
bud.
And yet now I'm somewhat adrift.
What do you have to
Any
do
of
with the
us know what a
buckets?
bucket is? Am I a
Who
bucket?
are you? Are you the
Stanley, I
timekeeper?
can't keep
Are
doing
you the
this.
narrator?
I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
Well, he
What
gone too,
happened?
so he was a
Is
bucket.
everything gone? Did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea.
At least everything that was rendered.
Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either.
Nope.
Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. One man, one bucket. One chance to seize their destiny together.
Oh boy.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the
Let's
meeting
cause
room.
some anarchy
But
real
Stanley
quick.
had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
The bucket
Stanley
was
took the
wrong.
door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Oh, well, look who's got cold feet. Well, from here, it looks like the only way forward is down, since the lift won't be coming, but that's okay. You've got a bucket. Did you know that buckets are routinely used as cushioning devices? It's true. You can fall on a bucket from literally any height and survive.
You know what?
Whoops. Looks like I was wrong. How clumsy of me.
I actually believed him because of the other ending where we did land on it and it blew our fall perfectly. How silly of me.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. It's bucket time.
Oh yeah.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should
Pretty
have alarmed
trippy.
him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly
I
convinced
got
that the bucket
4 more
had spoken
minutes
to
for
him,
stream.
and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
So this will be the last ending.
In here,
Said the bucket.
go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders?
Oh,
Stanley,
look
I
at
was
that. I
joking.
dropped a few
Obviously,
frames.
the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket. Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it, but there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look.
Take me back to the memory zone.
What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told
Fair
a
enough.
joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor.
Gotcha.
Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
I'm Dunny with the funny.
Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An
That
effective
is actually
survey should
true,
be no
though.
less than 10 pages long and should
Oh,
include the
jeez.
same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, with each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged
I
invaders
believe we've passed
threatening our
90
very
seconds.
existence, and to very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
Yeah, agreed.
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back. I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we have the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now? Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure. The bucket spoke to Stanley.
The bucket spoke.
The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
Fair.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There were supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point. A dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the 2 doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think I need to go back and rewatch that instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve my... Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No. Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No.
No.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you...
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame? Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so mental. I think I saw it playing guitar. No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More instructional videos. Let's see.
Sorry, Leroy. Alright, you know what?
All his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I would like Yes, please.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time.
No 425 guy. No new content. Alright, I'm calling it here, chat. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.